Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's CreatoR back again. The one known as CR, just like in the word creator, because it starts with it and ends with it, and there's a second R in there. And welcome to this live with CR. Hashtag content creator. Reconnecting with you all, the people of this world, and talking about editing, being a content creator, or content creation in general, and well, videos. I actually did this stream, or I talked about this previous time, and I had issues with the side chat, so I didn't engage with the side chat as much as I wanted to because of technical difficulties. Although I did read the chat what after the fact, because sometimes things happen, especially when you go on live, right? So I figured I'd come on live and actually talk about this once again. While I wait for some people to join me in my side chat here, which apparently is much faster than I think. Was in here too. Hello, both of you. Nice to see you all. So yes, as a content creator, many of us are content creators. Although some of us just watch, for example, just watching and stuff like that, supporting and liking and commenting and all that stuff. I always appreciate the followers and the non-followers, the people that watch, right? Because it goes hand in hand. Content creating and watching. Not everyone's a content creator, but many of us are a watcher, if not all of us. Also, people that are here right now in the side chat or watching this on the replay are actually watching. And so many of them are content creators too, with their own style, their own content, their own genre that they follow, whatever it is. I mean, there's plenty out there. I'll probably use the gaming community as an example, but this could go for the homesteaders out there, the preparedness channel, survivalism type of channels, bushcrafting channels, the gardening type of channels out there, the how-to channels out there, and the how to be getting more views type of channels out there. They're helping the rest of us with their own content, as they create it, whatever it is. So I see you guys all in the side chat. Yes, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. And just so I have a little bit in here to work with, I'm actually gonna throw in something right here. Speak of content creating. Something like that, for example. Maybe even something like this, for example. Obviously, this involves in editing. Now, is it necessary to edit videos to be a content creator? No, it's not absolutely necessary. However, with that said, and before I even say that, I understand why people don't do it. I understand it. I mean, I have actually put out videos without editing, but with that said, editing to a certain degree, even basic editing skills, let's say like splicing or uh, splitting. I almost forgot the word. Splitting, right? Are sometimes necessary just because you're changing from the next scene to the next scene, or you're moving around to the next spot, or something like that. And that's fairly basic in terms of editing, and sometimes it is necessary. And sometimes you're trying to trim down a video, so instead of being 20 minutes long with a lot of let me change the camera angles and move over here that's 20 feet away, you kind of slice that out and stuff like that, and then you reconnect the footage together. And obviously other things which I will go into, and then you export it out as a video again, as one whole video again. Although some cameras out there, some digital cameras, some what's the word I'm looking for? Smartphones, for example, will allow you to pause your video and resume it. So I've seen that before. I know, although not all phones do that. So sometimes you would need to at least splice the footage together. Just because you're taking a pause for whatever reason, right? To set back up your tripod, set back up your camera angle, for example. You're kind of doing it like that, just so you can actually have a whole one video to upload, for example. Maybe here on YouTube here, because I'm actually streaming this on the YouTube platform, or it could be on other social media platforms out there, right? There's plenty out there. Maybe it's for your reels or your shorts or something like that. I mean, like I said, I've actually posted videos without editing. However, with that said, I have to do it in one take. No kind of quote unquote reshooting or adding in B-roll or kind of recording, you know, multiple takes of it and taking the best one out of it. So there is some also pros and cons to editing. Let me catch up to my sunshine here. What's up, Ginger? How's it going? James? Just read the sunshine here. Let me highlight this here. Sorry, I got a notification there. Let's see what it says. Ginger says she uses an app on the phone called Video Guru. Okay, I don't think I've heard of that. I don't think I have anyway. It makes it super easy to edit or add music and graphics. It makes it easy to upload to YouTube also. Okay. I mean, if it works for you and you're comfortable with it, right? And it does what you want it to do. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, a lot of editing programs or apps, depending how on the platform that you're using, your phone or a desktop or a laptop or a tablet and so forth. I mean, there's ones that you can download to your device, like your phone, Android, iPhone, or to your laptop, desktop, cross-platform, Mac, Linux, Windows, and stuff like that. And there's a whole bunch. And just as a background, for some people that are not familiar, because I mentioned this every so often, I used to have their channel before this. I used to actually have a gaming channel, although I forgot the password and I can't log back in. But you know, besides that, besides that little caveat right there, I used to make videos as a gaming channel and stuff like that. And I mean, I this was back a long time ago, probably in what a good 17 years ago. Yeah, it feels like at least 17 years ago. Back in like the beginning ish of the millennium, right? Early 2000s. I was actually doing that. This is actually way before HD content, high definition type of content, let alone 4K, was available here on on this platform on YouTube. So way before when there was only standard definition, 4:3, 720 by 480, and now you got 1080p, 4K, and so forth. Just catch up on my chat. Hey, it's Vanessa Kitty and Idaho Girl. Hi, I see you guys. I see you. Hi, Vanessa Kitty. Yeah, let's see. And that's good. That's good, Ginger. And I mean, yeah, you're getting comfortable with it. That's good. I understand there's a different, how do I say this? Experience level in terms of like being a content creator, editing, and videos in general. You know, a lot of it comes down to practice. Just like in preparedness, you practice stuff, or gardening, you practice it. You know, you get experience by actually doing it. I mean, sometimes it can be tricky. It's just like in anything in life. Sometimes it can be tricky, even frustrating to a certain degree. I mean, sometimes I get frustrated in editing too. It's no exception, you know. I'm like, why isn't this working the way I want it to, right? And I'm trying to troubleshoot it and figure it out, or figure out a way to get kind of what the effect or um, that look, you know, you know, because I can't pick up another word. That look that you want for that video, right? I mean, like I said, it could be a reel over on the Instagram side, shorts here on the YouTube side, and such. Make sure I keep up with my chat here. Okay. Yeah, it does. It does. But like anything, preparedness, gardening, it takes time and practice too. It's just like in gardening, you don't necessarily have a very successful year on the first try. Sometimes you gotta work the soil, for example, work the ground a little, add layers into the ground, you know, some amendments and stuff like that to kind of get what you ultimately want in terms of gardening, you know, production of flowers, some sort of produce, crops and stuff like that. And just like in just to use that as kind of like a metaphor, you know, you like to see that nice let's see, green plants, it's nice arrangement and stuff like that. Likewise, in editing, sometimes you want that kind of nice feel, you know, it captures that moment in time, that feeling that you had, let's say, if you went for a walk or a nature hike, or, you know, you saw something, let's say Northern Lights, for example. I mean, there's, speak of content creation and other things like that. I mean, it could be like, you know, seeing, let's say, the solar eclipse. I mean, back a couple of years ago when there was that solar eclipse, there was a lot of videos about that. Content creators out there did that kind of stuff. I mean, I even did something like that. Tried to show something. I mean, I was in the, what's that called? The umbra. Yeah, I was only in the penumbra. All right, partial eclipse, but you know, it still showed something in there as a content creator. And hold on one sec, I gotta move my cable here. Oh, yeah. You Splice? Yeah, I played around with Splice before Idaho Garden Girl. I've actually played around with that. I mean, I should also mention that there is free, somewhat free, freeware, free to use, and then there is, you know, commercial or pay to use type of apps or programs out there. Various degrees of complexity, ease, functionality, and what things you can do with that kind of stuff. I mean, there's so much out there. I mean, I could probably name like 12, 20, maybe not quite 30 or 50, but there's a lot out there. And many of them I've tried. And yes, I have used Splice before. Yes, technically is Splice is free. Then yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know, the updates that they roll for those apps or programs and stuff like that, the next version of it, you know, probably performance updates and stuff like that. So I always keep tabs on that, especially you know, in your app store or application store, or just to see if there's a new update. Because sometimes they roll in updates or added functionality or performance enhancement things in terms of for the app or program, depending on the platform and stuff like that. And there's a lot out there. Some of it I don't particularly like at times. Not because of let's say it's not powerful enough or I can't do what I want to achieve in a video, but sometimes it's just like the limitations of it, right? I mean, I've been editing for quite a bit now. I mean, I remember as part of my schooling for it, let's just say, I had to actually create this video from scratch, right? Based on something. I did a how-to video, how to do it. And true story, I had to do the electric slide, right? If I remember right, just yeah, step, step behind, step together. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember it now. And I actually ran that as a how-to. I mean, I think I still actually have that footage, but that was a long time ago, like good 10 years ago. It was, and basically, obviously, I had to edit that together. There was music. I mean, I can't run it here on the YouTube side because technically I used, that kind of music in there. But when I put it together, it was just kind of like instructional, and then it's me kind of performing. In that case, the electric slide with music, so you can actually do it. And when I was doing it, I was just like matching my beat and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, how long did that took a while for me to edit at that time. I mean, I've grown more as a content creator since, learn a few extra tricks, um, reduced my time on certain things because my workflow was a little bit better since that time. Let's see, let's go here. Okay, 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 I see. It's got music clips. Okay. You wish you could learn to make animation? Well, I mean, that's a like. I mean, I just video and animation kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, there is real video like the real world, and there's more animation like let's say in anime, for example, right? There's well, the cartoons of the past, the animated uh, TV shows, the animated movies out there. There's a whole bunch, right? You could go back all the way down back to the well, almost almost 100 years ago, almost a century ago, right? You know, because back then, and I'll mention this as traditional animation, right? Because traditional animation used to be like slides and basically onion skin, and basically you just tweak the image a little, and then you play back all those slides, or in this case, frames, at fast enough speed, and it tricks your eye and makes it look like it's movement, hence animation. And let's say like a mouse, a duck, though, we all know that kind of cartoons animation. We're all familiar with that. Or many people have seen that kind of stuff. Many people know about that. I mean, there's a famous world attraction. Yeah, yeah, CGI, computer generated effects. Was that you doing? Oh, Ginger. You want to make a Ginger Ninja cartoon? Seriously? Well, you know what? If you have the will, just kind of, you probably could do it. I mean, a lot of the times, just see it in your mind first, right? How you want to picture it in your mind, and hopefully you can translate it onto the screen. I mean, I know some people will actually like, let's just say, for example, like thumbnails, for example. I mean, I guess I could get into that too. Well, I'll get into the thumbnail after. I'll talk about more about the animation part. But you could like sketch it out, right? And try to translate it into a digital form in terms of animation. I mean, there's actual videos out there, real shorts and all that stuff on all the platforms probably, where people take that kind of, let's say, what's that called? Those post-its, for example, right? the sheets of paper that are together, and they actually draw on it. Second page, draw slightly different angle, hand movement, a wave, whatever it is, and just kind of keep going and going and going, and they just flip it back like a book, like a what's that called, flip book, for example. And that kind of stuff is actually quite interesting because technically that is animation. That's almost like, I mean, you're seeing it as a video, obviously, but that's more like traditional animation. Because even back a long time ago with black and white movies, for example, right? That was hand cranked, right? The film, right? Before the age of digital photography and video, right? That's hand cranked to move the slides, the frames, the quote unquote, the paper, right? And it was fast enough and at a certain rate, right? You could see it as animation that kind of looked like there's this guy with a top hat moving across the screen, for example. And then, they figured out how to add audio, music, and stuff later on because obviously traditional black and white movies back then were without sound. And, later on there was sound. And later on they figured out how to incorporate music into it and stuff like that. So stuff like that was very, very useful as an educational purpose. I remember some of that stuff. Just give me one sec, please. Sorry about that. I remember I'm doing this live, so sometimes I occasionally get interrupted every so often. So yes, like a flip book. Yeah, you had one of those Idaho Garden Girl? That's cool. That's cool. So I think you're familiar with that. I mean, you can look online and see that kind of stuff. I mean, honestly, artistic skills do help in that. I mean, traditional animation was like that. You needed artistic skills and stuff like that. And for example, like nowadays, people draw with like a tablet, a pen, and stuff like that. And I mean, there's apps out there that can quote unquote make some simple animation and stuff like that. Some of them I've tried. Oh, you didn't want us a slideshow? I mean, slideshow is just kind of like a series of pictures that kind of transition to the next one. It's not quite animation, but if it was fast enough and something like that, it's like stop motion, for example, right? That's a series of images and just kind of slight tweak of a finger, hand, facial expression, movement, a dog walking or whatever, paws going up and down, and then and obviously they're using a tripod, so everything else except for the background, for example, would be static. I mean, everything in the background would be static except for the person walking the dog, and basically, if you have enough images, you can make animation from that. It's actually one of those things that I want to try out, kind of stop motion thing. I've been thinking about that for the last like year and a half. Mm, you have a 3D digital drawing pad, but you don't know how to make it move yet. Okay. Well, if I lived closer and amongst other things, I probably would try to help you with that. Yeah, you might be able to do a flip animation book or a flip book animation. Yeah. I mean, even just trying that out. There's lots you can learn from that kind of stuff. I mean, they used to actually cut that certain things out and add it in there, right? In terms of animation, the slides. I think it's known as an onion skin, and for example, right? And basically, it's like transparent. Has deal of transparency, Basically, it just overlaps together and stuff like that. The cells, I think they call it and stuff like that. Actually, Ginger, I do know one, but it is technically not free. There's I know one, but it watermarks it, and the unpaid version or the freeware of it, right? It limits it in terms of resolution. It doesn't give you HD output. It only does standard definition. I've actually showed it an example of it in one of my shorts that I did. I think it was the last one with the green onion. That was an image, and I used the app to kind of make it a little movement in there, just so the video, or in that case, the shorts was a little bit more entertaining than just a static image. I mean, I got pretty good reception. So yeah, okay, cool, cool. 1969, and it obviously, yeah, yeah, yeah. I got you. I don't go. I got you. I got you. I mean, sometimes, like I said, Ginger Ninja. Sometimes I look online, like on YouTube, for you just enter it into the search field and go from there, and hope and see what it's about and stuff like that. And maybe do your own research in terms of seeing reviews and stuff like that, or just seeing people actually use that. Especially, you know, hey, I'm not using the paid version. I'm just using the free version, and hopefully they will indicate like what they can do, what they can't do, and some of the limitations, if any. Because I know even on a phone, some of the apps, even though they're all basically video editing software, right, where you do stuff, right, they have all basic stuff. Let's just say splicing stuff together, joining stuff together. Let's say adding some sound, some stickers as it's known on the apps. Like funny cartoon things and stuff like that. But some of them have slight differences, which you would notice if you practice or use the app long enough, especially in comparison to our app. Because a lot of, like I said, there's a lot out there. I've seen many of them. I mean, I've seen the watermarks. Yeah, I guess I'll use the word watermarks, right? From some of those videos out there. There's what Power Director. There's InShot. There's, let's see, what else is there. Trying to remember. Well, I mean, there's a lot out there. I mean, some of the newer computers out there that you're getting, right? And you maybe have one built in to try out. I mean, it really does depend on what device, like, you're using. Let's say a phone, or let's say a laptop or a desktop. Is There's some of them are cross-platform all the way, but some of them are kind of only on a phone, or some of them are only like on a desktop computer, let's say. And some of them are actually online only. There is, let's see, prime example is Canva, Canva, right? If you search that out on your browser, and you would see it, right? I have a I have an account with that over there. I mean, non-paid account. I'm just trying out the free stuff on there. I mean, it's different in a good way. I mean, I've used some of the freebies over there, as B-roll and stuff like that. I, was it the last video? I'm trying to remember. Well, well, my upcoming video, I definitely have something for Canva on that side. I took some sort of world or thing, and I kind of incorporated into the video and stuff like that. Ah. Yeah, yeah, I hear you on that, Ginger. Hi, hi, Sunflower. How are you doing, my friend? Nice to see you around. I mean, I know Sunflower is familiar with Canva. I mean, I know some other people that are familiar with Canva. I mean, I like it. I haven't used it much. I mean, there's an actual app too, but you can also go on a web browser and actually open it up and actually, make video and stuff like that. You have to register if you want to upload your own personal content to use, but aside from that, I generally like it. And there's no watermark, although they have other limitations like I think file size, input, probably. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I used that, both either the app or been on the site itself. Oh, resolution, yeah, yeah. There's a resolution. 4K is not available unless you pay for it, but you can still do full HD. Hey, look who it is! Oh, Sunflower. I'm talking about, just to recap again. Besides reconnecting with you, the content creators out there, and the watchers and the viewers, talk about editing videos and content creation, or being a content creator as a whole. I mean, like I said, many of us are content creators, and many more of us are watchers. So, because it goes hand in hand, right? Because you can create all the content, but you want someone to watch it, right? You want to watch a lot of content, well, someone has to make it, right? That video or whatever, that Instagram reel, that shorts, right? I guess I could stretch that over to TikTok too, right? Stuff like that. Regardless if it's educational in nature, funny, humorous, sarcasm, maybe punny. I mean, I just posted something over on the Instagram side. I mean, it's not a reel; it's actually a video, but just something. And I threw a pun in there. It was just kind of something I just put together. I used real world objects and computer generated kind of background or whatever, and I voiced over it and kind of, well, now I posted it over there. Yes, punny. Hey, Hookah's back. CB, you're back. Nice, 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 nice. Oh, okay, okay. All the best out there, CB. By the way, just give me 1 second. I gotta change my orientation, not my orientation, my direction here. One second. Anyways, so continuing on here. I mean, let's say you were. Hold on a second. Come on, phone. Charge here. I'm live, so and I need to charge my battery here. Come on, phone. Okay. So, as long as my battery keeps going up, I'm still good. All right. I'm just looking at the time here. All right. You came back to allow Ginger to finish chores. All right. Take care, Idaho Garden Girl. Appreciate you taking some time to drop in. And I feel like I'm getting to know some of you a little bit better outside your kind of videos and stuff that you guys and gals do. And technically, I actually have gals in here. Technically, right now, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So, I know Ginger and Sunflower. You've already seen some of the apps out there and stuff like that, or the programs and stuff like that. And then I know other people have slowly start to understand some of it. I tried out a lot of that stuff in the past, or even currently. I mean, I could go list after list of like apps that I've tried. I mean, many of them I've tried. You know, just just to see if I would enjoy it. Would it work with the workflow, the style that I like to do for here on this channel, right? I mean, if it works for you, it works for you, right? Good for you, right? But sometimes for me, it seems like, you know, certain little things, it's not a deal breaker, but sometimes it feels like it's not quite as customizable as I would like it in terms of what I can do. So sometimes, I mean, a lot of times, a lot of the stuff, I mean, like I said, I've tried out Splice before. I mean, I have my reasons why I don't use it. Aside from that, generally you can put content together, videos together quite relatively easily, right? Some of them, like I said, some of the apps, programs that out there have a higher learning curve. I mean, there's tutorials out there, so you can follow along and stuff like that. Sometimes, I mean, back when I still see, I used to have this Air laptop. Now I have to run those slower ones, which I can't run that program anymore because it's not powerful enough. That laptop that I have, this other one I have, right? But when I did used to run a faster laptop, I used to run much more. I wouldn't use the word advanced, but more interesting kind of programs and try them out. And every so often you would have saw stuff like that. Let me just, for example, here, like this little slider that I have in here. All right, I actually made this a long time ago, right? Obviously, it's in 4x3. This was a countdown timer that I had, right? This is something I made in one of the programs that I was running at that time. I was learning about and stuff with it. Could I recreate that in an app on a phone? Maybe. Not sure if I could, but maybe. I mean, possible. So basically, what I'm saying is, you know, learn if you're getting into this, right? And let's just say you actually do want to edit, and basically, you're starting off, right? You don't have prior experience. You never went to school to learn it. You maybe have seen a few tutorials and it feels like, it's hard to follow along. And yeah, I get it. Sometimes when I was following along with some tutorials, I'm like, I actually had to rewind the footage, rewind the video just because, what? What am I supposed to do? How do I do that? Right? Then I started figuring it out. I'm like, oh, now it starts to make sense, right? Because sometimes you're gonna make it click up, in your head where it's like it actually makes sense. You can actually rationalize it, I guess, to a certain degree, and it starts to make sense. It's like, oh, this is what it does. Let's say because there's always gonna be like a lot of in terms of editing, in terms of the program layout, right? There's gonna be a lot of standard things, right? You put your video in here, you input your footage or pictures or photos, you can play it, stop it, and export out a finalized video at the end, right? And then there's other things like transitions, like from clip to clip and stuff like that. And I guess the standard fade in, fade out of a video and stuff like that, which is pretty standard on a lot of the apps and programs to a certain degree. I mean, I'm generalizing a little because some of them are slightly different. I mean, but that's probably gonna be an advanced thing. I'll talk later on. Something I started to play around with, which I won't mention because I'm trying to kind of keep this kind of on a beginner, intermediate, just getting into this kind of editing, content creating, video making kind of thing. Because I know it can be daunting. I remember when I first learned it, I, I was just like, oh, so that's what it does. Oh, so this is what this button does, right? Sometimes you're just not familiar with it. It's just like there could be so many buttons, and it's like, but sometimes what I like to do is just, for example, try this out. For anyone out there with a video editing software or whatever, if you're not familiar with it or something like that, because I mentioned this to one of my air buddies, which I'm actually quite impressed on what they've been doing. Uh, they've appeared on my side chat before, Bush Dog. Bush, shout out to Bush, Bush Dog Scrapper out there, because I've seen what they've been able to do too and learn too. And there's just they had no prior experience, no schooling, never went for school for it, learned about it in a more official manner. But they've started to learn about it. I've seen what they've been able to do. Right, they're like, those transitional effects, and I shouldn't say transitional effects, but these transition states from like walking through a door, right, and then the next clip of the video is them entering through on the other side, for example. I mean, it's just kind of spliced together to a certain degree. I've seen people do that, right? I mean, I haven't quite done it like that, but I've done similar things to that. Sure, I have this here. This topic is video editing, content creation. Because, like I said, there's a lot out there. I mean, besides, a lot of people like to see, not only gain the information, but be entertained to a certain degree, right? It's nice to be able to hear things in terms of audio, music, or sound, right, on screen, right? And maybe have some B-roll, for example. I mean, I guess I could roll something in here. I should have uploaded some more stuff here. Just making sure my camera's, for example, right? I'll just cycle this one in here. Because I think I'll show it as an example here with this loop for here. This was actually made in Canva, by the way. A lot of these elements were available for free, right? I mean, also you could see the CR I had to add that in there amongst other things, right? I may have recolored some of the stuff in there. That animation with the person was just a stock, let's say a stock image or a stock animation, right? I did not create that, by the way. But I did, throw a table in there, a chair, there's a backpack, some water, and stuff like that, and just kind of put it together and overlaid it all together to kind of make it, and obviously it loops, for example. So that's like we could turn the loop off here. So that was something I did in Canva, for example. And I started to use this as a loop that I have on the channel. I haven't brought this one in for a while, but it's something I've done. And basically, I just kind of rearranged it and stuff with the foreground, midground, background, right? I mean, here, and people probably want to see something like this. I mean, like, this is a green screen. I still have to adjust this for the new up-to-date colors, but I mean, this was just something I made not quite totally from scratch, because I think that little hand thing I did not, that was, let me just put it back on the screen here a little quicker. That little hand thing I didn't make from scratch, but the little mouse cursor there, I actually did make that from scratch. Basically, I took a triangle and kind of little handle at the bottom kind of deal. It's kind of added a little to it. And obviously, the buttons that you saw on that were all made for me, right? I made those from scratch, obviously, and stuff like that, and just kind of mimic something else I've seen before. Because a lot of times I'll break down the what I see or something I want to try out or make a version of it or make it from scratch and just kind of break it down in terms of shapes. So like circles, triangles, rectangles, squares, and stuff like that. You will see in that example right there, there was triangles, rectangles, and stuff like that. And then obviously animated, I made things move at a certain time. So that icon, the mouse cursor was off screen, and let's say 1-2 seconds in, it started to move from the bottom left hand corner up to the button, and basically the button from changing from gray to red in that case, right? The subscriber in the type of button. I just kind of a transition, pretty much, right? So it could have been fade in, fade in, fade out, and fade in the subscribe in kind of button, and adjust the timing of it and all that stuff. And then as I during that transition, the mouse icon changes to that kind of hand stuff. And like I said, the hand, I know I did not create that from scratch. However, there is stuff I did. And obviously, there's a green screen behind it because obviously I've used it in videos before. Right? It's been a while since I've used it, but you would green screen that out, for example. Now, I'm trying to remember some of the stuff that I mentioned in the previous live stream I did on this because, like I said, I had issues with the side chat on that time, so I did not see the side chat for some reason, which I think I know why now. But there was a whole bunch of side chat of people talking. I didn't read it like I said, and a lot of that stuff. And I started to understand. I'm like, not just the people that are making the content and the people behind the channel, but how their workflow is or what they're using out there. Like I said, I think someone said they used on that chat that I did on that stream that they use Power Director. I tried Power Director. Now, Power Director is not free. It's freeware. Like there's a watermark on the unpaid version, right? I mean, watermark's not a deal breaker for me, but I've tried that out. I use little things from it every so often. I think there is this kind of wasn't in the last. I remember wasn't in the last video that I did. Yes, yes, it was in the last video. I keep forgetting that in the last video that I did about spring is finally coming, or the spring prep work that I did here. So if you haven't seen that, you can check that out, and actually, it'll kind of you can see visuals of what I mean about it. But basically, I added in this subscribe in type of thing. I mean, that was a preset. Like I did not create that animation or that sequence of for that video at that time, but it was something I used, and basically it's like a sticker. See, in apps, it's known as a sticker, and basically, these are things you can overlay on top of your videos, like for example, like thumbs up, right, or click here, subscribe over here, ding ding, bell notification kind of thing. For example, like I have that in that video, but basically, what I did was I used it, but instead of putting it on a video, I used it on top of a green screen, like that green screen green color. trying to remember the. Well, you can look online the color or the hex key, the number code, so you can enter it in, and basically you have it as background. And basically, you put the sticker on top of that, then you just green screen or chroma key it out or cut out. As a lot of the apps are use the word cutout, chroma key, and stuff like that. That's the stuff that you would use for like green screen type of things. But you can also do it for like, let's just say you have this animation of someone like a cartoon character walking, right? And you just want to get that out, and you just have it on a green screen type of background, not a physical one. It could be a physical one, but in terms of the green screen, green color, and then you can add it into your videos later on, and just remove that green screen green color by selecting it and adjusting it, the fineness of it and stuff like that. And hopefully it all works out, right? Because I know sometimes I try stuff, I'm like, it's not gonna work. It's pulling too much color out from my one spot on my image, picture or moving image or whatever video, and I'm like, that won't work. But a lot of times it works. Hey, yeah. Speak of there we go. Secret stuff. I see you in there, man. Like I said earlier, I didn't see the side chat during that stream, but I did read your comments in there, so that's how I know you used the Power Director. I reread it after. Okay, it's nice to see you. Okay, okay, I see. Record at 2.7, yeah, K 30 frames, and yeah, when I produce it, and yeah, 40K 20, yeah, 4K 40 frames per second FPS, yeah. Yeah, exactly right. Because the larger your video is, or the longer duration is, or the larger the resolution is, let's say beyond full HD, maybe 4K or whatever, you need more memory, RAM, processing power, and it'll probably take longer to actually do it. Just because there's physically more information, right, to use. But sometimes it is useful to record at that high resolution and stuff like that. And stuff like lighting, audio, even a simple thing like like a mount or something where you like a what's that, tripod, for example, is quite nice to have. I mean, not sometimes I've shot video without a tripod, but I do like to have use a tripod whenever possible because you know, especially on some of the shots where I'm like on my own and I'm trying to record myself. Well, a tripod's nice to have, right? Just so it stands up because there's not always gonna be a tree to lean against or something like that. And I mean, you don't really per se need a really fancy tripod, but just something so you can hold your phone, digital camera, for example, onto, so you can have it so there's no that kind of motion blur, for example, and it's easier to kind of line up the video and stuff like that, and you know centralize your emphasis on the video. For example, of like if I was walking down the hill, for example, and walking back up, and kind of holding, hopefully having myself in the middle of the screen, so when it transitions to it, it almost seems like your eyes don't have to move so much. It's just like it's still in the middle. Your eyes can stay in the middle of the screen, focused on that, for example. Although sometimes I screw that up on terms of framing, but I make mistakes too, right? I'm still learning about this as a content creator because it can be very daunting at times. I know that. I mean, like I said, I've tried out many of the things out there. I mean, some of it, is not free. Some of it has watermark, and stuff like that. And some of it has other limitations too. I mean, I've seen limitations on some of those apps out there. It's just like, what? I can only export out a 2-minute video. I mean, that might be good if you were doing like shorts or something like that. But that one also included a watermark and some other things. But then there's other apps out there which, you know, and I use it. It doesn't have a watermark. You can import in music, pictures, animated type of GIFs, right? That kind of animation, but it doesn't allow you to import in a secondary video, like B-roll, for example. So you only have a main timeline of video. I mean, that's not a deal breaker for me, but sometimes I've used some of it before. It's, I've noticed that some of the apps differ on their effects, the stickers that are available. So sometimes I'll actually use the app just because the stickers are really cool in it, or much nicer than something else I'm using, for example. And I just kind of import in that footage after, as B-roll over the top of my video, for example. Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. I wouldn't mind a gimbal one these days. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. At least my footage wouldn't be as shaky, especially some of these walking, hiking videos that I've done. And speak of the actual hardware of it, right? You got to bring it along with you, right? So, I've seen people out there with their tripods and stuff like that. Remember, when you're seeing a video, there's probably a lot of somewhat hardware behind it. Tripods, the lighting, for example. You know, kind of more basic stuff in terms of hardware, right? Obviously, gimbal is kind of more advanced. Some hardware for stabilization and stuff like that. So you get that nice, clean kind of transition or movement that kind of looks like, wow, that looks so butterly, so smooth like butter, right? I'm just like, I hope I can actually eventually get something like that. Because I know that hardware can be expensive. It's not, but something like a selfie stick, a tripod, relatively you can relatively inexpensive. You were starting off, for example, that gives you something so you don't have to hold the phone or your camera the whole time through, right? I mean, I know secret stuff. You're still in there. You're probably and some other people that are familiar with these bag layouts that people have done, like in terms of their go bag or whatever. Right? Nothing wrong with holding the phone, but sometimes it's nice to have both hands free, right? That's why I like to use a tripod, for example, for stuff like that. I actually have shot a video without the tripod. The information was still sound and all that stuff, but I actually had to take stuff out of the bag or show stuff with one hand, and it's just kind of annoying after a period of time because I'm trying to hold a camera, multitask. Where if I was actually using a tripod over the shoulder, uh, I don't know, maybe over the head, over in front of you in terms of in front of your chest or whatever, it would have been a little bit easier to work with because I wouldn't have to like do two things at the same time, right? Trying to show what I'm showing and still hold, let's say, a phone or a camera still, for example. Hey, what's up, Ram? Ram, you in the house? How you doing, man? Hopefully you're doing well. Nice to see you. Hopefully you're doing better, by the way. So hopefully it's nice out there for you guys, right? I know it's nice out here for me. And speak of nice, this reminds me of something now. I haven't done a time lapse in a while, and I've actually done that kind of stuff. A time lapse, you almost absolutely need a tripod, or at least a spot you can put your camera or digital camera or phone, so it stands still. Because if there was movement in terms of like the camera moving or whatever in a time lapse, it's not the same effect, right? You know, it's not the same effect because a lot of the time lapses you see, right, you would see them as the camera or phone is stationary and it is recording everything else, and if there's movement, it would show it over time. But if your camera's moving, then it kind of, I wouldn't say disrupt, but it kind of changes the feel of that time lapse. It doesn't seem the same. For example, hopefully that makes sense. Well, okay, that's good to hear, Remy. That's good to hear, Remy. I mean, something like, I guess I'll show this since it's kind of, like, actually, I'll kind of let this loop. It's not supposed to loop, but I'll let this one loop for a little bit here. Yeah, I guess it kind of loops. I mean, when you see something like this, for example, right? I don't see it as, oh, this is so complex, CR. I don't know if I could pull something like this off with my current skill level or equipment or app or program I have. Don't see it like that, but see it for the break down the problem into more simple parts, right? So, for example, because I'm not using this as an example here. So, forget the creative redundancy text was on the screen, right? Focus on the background first, right? So, if I saw this, right, I'd be like, okay, there's a circle, basic shapes like circles, triangles, squares, and all that stuff, are polygons out there, right? So, that circle, okay, that's a circle. There's rectangles going around, or kind of beams going around, for example, right? Okay. Then there's text on the screen. Okay. Start with that. Circle, or ring in this case, rectangles, or basically it's like a ring, right? Because it's just an outline, and text. And start with something like that, then expand from that, all right? Where you're slowly bringing in effects like fading in, fading out, you know, movement on the screen and stuff like that. I mean, when I'm trying to remember when I was creating this. I mean, the creative redundancy comes in from the side and just kind of, and this read in text that you see that looks like the letters are almost like being read. That's just some sort of, I think, what is that called again? Well, there's multiple ways you can probably do it, but there could be a built-in preset on the app that says something like typewriting or something like that, or basically where it's almost like karaoke, right? For anyone that's gone out to karaoke before, right? You see that text on the screen when you do singing karaoke on the screen, for example, right? Some of the apps actually have something like that. I mean, this is very, very similar. When you see right there, right there, it's almost like it's turning from the white text to a darker text, for example. That's kind of like the karaoke thing you would see at karaoke. So for anyone that's done karaoke or sing, follow along with karaoke videos, singing along, right? You would see that kind of stuff. So I mean, some apps even call it the preset karaoke. There's your basic text color, whatever it is, and it overlaps it with blue. So if you were, let's say, doing a sing along or something like that, you can add that into your videos. Just say, you're a content creator that creates music but lyrics. Well, that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool to see, right? May help sell the song a little bit better because people can follow along. It almost feels like, hey, this is like karaoke, right? And people like karaoke. People like singing along, and it kind of looks like what you would see at maybe at a karaoke bar or something like that. So now to break down this circle thing here, right? You see it spinning around like a ring, and then it spins, right? break that down a little bit more. So basic shapes, circle. And I think what I did was I took a circle, right? So it's equal on, so it's not an oval, right? I basically probably put basically something over top of it, or I masked it out. One of the two things. I'm trying to remember, by the way. And basically did it like that. And now this kind of what you would see as this rectangle thing on the outside, right? Is I'm trying to remember that. I think I used a basic kind of stock image or stock video that maybe the app actually had. Trying to remember which app that was. It's been a while since I created this, right? And basically, to summarize this so I can get the video and the stream going along a little bit more here. Basically, after all that stuff, because it had its own color to it and stuff like that, I just kind of matched the color or changed the color to a greener color, for example. Almost like a neon type of green type of color and stuff like that. So when you see that, when the creative redundancy comes in initially, it looks green because that's what it was. I probably overlapped it some text over top or something like that. And remember, like traditional animation, like for example, because everyone can do this in the real world, right? Stick your hand so it's one hand that's so it's far away, and stick another hand so it's in front of your face, for example, right? Anything behind your hand that's in front of your face, you can't see behind it because it's blocked. It's blocked from view, for example, right? If you consider that, the creative redundancy part of this video, this little clip here, is the foreground. So that's the hand, for example, that's closest to you, in front of your face. The background is, the circle, the rectangles, all that lighting effect, right? And you can't anything behind the creative redundancy you can't really see until it goes away. That's how it all works, right? And when you're seeing these kind of it's spinning, not spinning around like a circle, but kind of almost like entering in that kind of three-dimensional type of feel to it, where it's almost like progressing to the foreground a little bit. That's basically, me altering, I think, the z-axis, right? Yeah, x, y, and z-axis, right? So if you remember that from like school and stuff like that, graphing and stuff like that, that's basically what I did. Just tweaked it a bit. I mean, this, like I said, I have these other little things here. I don't know if I have the other one in there. No, actually, I do have this other one, but all this stuff just kind of comes together, and nice fade out or off to the sides, squish it together, spin it out, and while it's spinning out, fade it out, right? And then next thing I know, I got something that looks kind of cool. I think I actually posted this one on the Instagram side. It's quite. I got pretty good response from that. No, see now this is something a little bit more simplistic, right? Now you can see the live with CR there. That is more or less in the foreground. Those bouncing circles right there are in the background. The little ones in the center are kind of in the middle ground. Both of the circles, like all three of them, in the background and in the middle ground, they're actually the same video clip animation or whatever. I just kind of sized it down, and I made sure it was behind the live with CR kind of text you see on the screen, but in front of, in terms of layering, in front of their circles, and basically it just loops. For example, I'm pretty sure these circles. I probably brought them in from like Canva. Yeah. The circle things are from Canva. It's available on there, so you probably could pull something very similar off. And that live with CR. Yeah, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure most of it I did this in Canva. So, because I was actually experimenting and just trying out the app, right? I was just like, oh, what can I do with it, right? What can I make out of it, right? So I tried out something like an intro or something that I can loop in, for example, on like these live streams, for example. So there's an example right there. I mean, I I have this other one which was way more complicated, which I've shown before, but hold on, see if you noticed, take a look here. A lot of similarities from the one that I previously showed because the previous one I showed, I used that as a kind of base layer or a template to create this more complex one. So obviously, this text you see the creative redundancy on the bottom of the screen, and it's kind of like this waveform. The waveform is just some sort of, you know, repeating, looping animation. The creative redundancy part was some sort of text effect in one of the apps that I use. It's quite popular, actually. A lot of people use it. And basically, this kind of these, how do I say this? These almost like fireworks. You see these hexagons in there, and basically that was just kind of um well transitions from the background to the foreground to a certain degree, so it almost looks like it's coming in front. Now this is definitely way more complex than a lot of things I've done, but it took me a little bit to pull this off. I managed to pull it off, and a little bit of math helped because I was like trying to get the timing down, so it was like every second it would move transition over to the next clip and stuff like that, and this basically just loops. And basically later on, I just kind of altered it, so the next set of colors would have been from blue. I think there's the next one's yellow or red. I think, right? Yeah, no, it's still blue. I think I went from like what blue, yellow, for example. Just kind of went from there. Let me just stop that for a moment there. For example, something like this is a little bit more simplistic to kind of show it as, right? Now, you remember the green one that I showed earlier, this one right here. You'll see that, come on, if I showed that other one here. This one, basically, you'll see those rectangles in the back. That's actually the same rectangles I used for that green one, but it's in its original color. I think it was green and blue, for example. It was part of a stock video in the app that I used. Obviously, the CR, my channel icon that I currently have on the channel, is in the foreground, and that's rectangle in the back is in the background. Just kind of blur that out, so the focus would have been more on the CR in the center, and basically had it to a certain duration, and because the way that it appears, it looks like it's looping. So I decided to use something like this, for example. I mean, here's I've shown this one before too, where yeah, this is a much more simplistic one. I kind of like this one just because the simplicity of it. I mean, this is just. I'm trying to remember where I made this in. I don't know if I made this in Canva. I might have used some elements from Canva, but basically, this is this live with CR thing that you see on the screen here. Right? If I broke this, I'll break this down. Like I said, breaking down the problem into more simplistic parts or basic parts, right? So if I remove the live width, right? Obviously that's text. Arranged it in a certain way so it arcs. right? To match up with these kind of echoing wave sounds on the side from the CR, right? Because I wanted this kind of roundness, right? And then that waveform that you see right there in the middle, right? That's just a loop of an animation. So as I'm talking, it almost looks like something you would see in a what's that piece of equipment called that you could if you talk in it you would see the waveforms, right? I kind of remember that's called, but I was kind of mimicking that to a certain degree. And also the CR with the world thing is just like a channel icon that I previously had. I just kind of put this together and made a video, and it can loop because the way that it starts and ends. For example, I mean, this is a very simplistic one because this basically just has text. Because the only thing moving is this waveform that you see in the center, and that was just a preset. I shouldn't say a preset, but a stock animation of it. Right? I did not create that from scratch. However, there are little things I have, such as the CR in there. Right? There's stuff like the text, these kind of echoing type of things that just kind of they're probably from other things. I think, for example, this echoing ring type of effect on the side that you see from the C and R on the left and the right hand on the screen. I think it was like a Wi-Fi type of icon or something that I used. I think I had to put a matching circle in the center, and also the CRs in the center of that circle and stuff like that. Hey, farmer son, how's it going? Nice to see you in there. So, okay, let's kind of end this and not end this, but stop my stop this loop. It'll stop looping after its final playthrough of it. Because I think to get away from the editing part and focus on the content creation part a little bit more. Because I know, like I said, many of you, right? I've seen your guys' videos, guys and gals' videos, right? I've seen I see what you guys do, right? And sometimes, nothing wrong with just point and shooting, right? Honestly, as a content creator, you're trying to put out content because to get views and amongst other things, and see comments on the screen and stuff like that. As content creators, well, you gotta put out content, so you gotta record something, right? Whatever it is, maybe it's going out for a walk or whatever with a backpack on. That fishing stuff that people like to do, ice fishing. Maybe you're working on a DIY or a handy person man type of video where hey, I'm fixing a car, I'm working on the truck, I'm fixing a lawnmower, and here's a how to or how I approached it or how I fixed it and stuff like that, and you're just trying to record. And I get it. I mean, I've actually, like I said, I've shot video without editing before because I know it can be possible, but I also realize I have to say everything or do it in one take. Now, editing, on the other hand, allows you to multiple takes of, let's say, doing something, whatever it is, and just kind of picking the best from the many takes that you have of it. That kind of clipper or whatever that you use for like movies or whatever. That's like right that thing, right? I'm remembering that, right? It's like take two, take three, and stuff like that. And you probably wonder why do they actually say take two, take three, or action or whatever. It's actually in terms of editing, it helps in the editing process because you realize, hey, if I say action, anything before I say that or before the clip clip clapper, yeah, clapper sound is all stuff I don't need in the actual movie or video, and I can start editing everything afterwards, right? So where to slice or split the video, for example. Because one of my friends had as I actually started to realize that we're basically, you know, let's just say, you're gonna be voicing over something, right? Let's just say, oh, here's something. I'm gonna speed up this footage of me doing this anyways, right? So the sound, quote unquote, really doesn't matter. Well, you could still say something like, okay, for example, let's say you're doing like a tent, tent setup, for example, which I've shown before. Well, one of the things you didn't see in that video because I sped up the footage a bit. Obviously, no one wants to see me trying to set up the tent as at real time speed, so I kind of sped it up so you get a gist of it. Well, one of the things I said that you didn't hear because I took out the sound from that part of the footage. But okay, I'm speeding up the footage now, right? As an indicator. So when I'm in post production in the editing software or whatever, I know, oh, this is the time I'm supposed to speed it up, right? As almost like clues or almost like footnotes, for example. So basically, you're saying something as an audio note to maybe if you have more than one person to someone that's editing or to yourself, it's like, oh, right, I'm supposed to speed up this footage because I know some people record footage, don't use it quite necessarily right away because you're waiting for something or whatever, right? The timing or whatever. Like for example, the sunflower video that I posted last year. Right, I actually had a lot of footage that I had to keep on my device or whatever, phone, laptop, whatever, right? Device of choice, right, for a long period of time. And I actually had some, not just pictures, but actual like video of it, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm voicing over this. I would say something like that because I know I was gonna voice over it or put music to it anyways, right? So because I knew I wasn't gonna talk at that state, I just said, okay, I'm voicing over this, like I'm saying it so I can hear it later, 2, 3, 4 months later, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do that because now I have some voice notes. So it's almost like leaving yourself a note on what to do later or what to edit out later or oh, take this out, right? Or stop. You know, sometimes I'll say like start and finish, right? So anytime after start, that's where the actual video would start. When as soon as I say finish, anything before I keep. So basically, it would help me in the quote unquote post production room a little bit more. So something to keep in mind. What's up, For Haven? How's it going, man? Nice to see you around. Nice to see you around. I was hooked on your video earlier. Yeah, you guys know I had to throw that out, right? As a content creator, I tried to, you know, when you throw in something funny or something that may be funny or something like that, every so often I'll kind of indicate that in my comment section. I mean, in the comments to the video. So it's like, I watched that part, by the way. I just kind of hinted a little. Hopefully, not spoil it or spoilers on it, but kind of hinted on it, right? Because I know it's nice to know that, oh, hey, CR watched this part. He must have because he quoted it something from it or made a funny or made a pun or kind of made it work in there as the comment section, right? Where it's just kind of like as a content creator, it's just like because I know people look at the comment section. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes they're reading it while they're listening to the video, for example, right? So they're like, "Oh, I want to see that one part. What is this this hooked thing that CreatoR Dancy's talking about? I don't want to, yeah." And maybe they'll be inclined to want to watch that part. It's like it must be funny. It must be funny or something like that. And hopefully, you'll see some good watch time or audience retention during that time. You know, don't don't think you could really spoil that part. Well, yeah, 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 yeah. Hook, yeah, I won't spoil that part. Hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. So yeah, continuing on in terms of as a content creator, right? You know, like I said, I haven't always edited every last video I posted on the channel. Actually, my first video, by the way, which is still on the channel, that was like 2 minutes. No intro, no outro, just raw footage, right? Really, pretty much one take. I might have taken two, but since then I kind of trying to up my content creation game. Not in terms of not just the content itself, but in terms of the appearance of it, right? The overall feel of it. Trying to add in certain little things every so often. And of course, lately, in terms with editing and stuff like that, adding in branding in, right? Just like, branding in terms of like it's like a commercial, right? I shouldn't say like a commercial, but like kind of branding in terms of like proper brand, popular brand names, right? You kind of see it on their boxes and stuff like that. I try to make it so these CRs that I put in there or whatever, these texts or whatever, don't you know pull away from the main part of the video, right? They're just kind of to help guide the content along the video along a little bit, and every so often add some branding in there, right? So, if it appeared on a website or whatever, or, embedded into another website, or, someone else was watching it, or, hey, or showing it to someone else, they'll be like, oh, it becomes familiar, right? They're like, oh, what's this video? It has a CR in it. Oh, yeah, it's this guy right here, I follow him or something like that. And, you kind of get more familiar with it. And branding is one of those things where people remember that, right? Branding type of thing. It's like a name, right? It's something to refer to, you know. If you don't use a real name or whatever, or a channel name or something like that, right? Just and the colors that go along with that. I mean, I could go probably into much more in the color thing, but yes. So let me know since I'm an hour and a half in already. Let me know in regardless in the comments section if you're catching this on the replay or in my side chat right now. Let me ask some questions, right? Like I said, this is reconnecting with the people, so I'm reconnecting with the content creators out there. So let me ask a question. I know some people asked some questions earlier, like, if I had recommendations or something like that. Feel free to ask that. All right, I'll see the chat, and as I go on here, I'll let that kind of sink in while you guys think about that, right? And go on to this other thing here in terms of video. And I'll get into the questions if they're, well, I guess I'm opening it up for Q&A, right? And it'll give me a chance to kind of rest my voice for a moment here because I have been talking for a little bit here. So enjoy your drink of choice, whatever it is. Coffee, a tea, maybe it's just water. Water is important. So feel free to splash a pun in there. Make sure you splash a pun in there. Hold on a second while you guys go at it. Just give me a moment, everyone. I am paying attention to the side chat. Apparently, I didn't charge my phone either. So. And that's another thing, right? When you're doing video, make sure your device is charged, your memory card or whatever. It has enough room so you can actually record, right? Offset it on to a laptop or whatever, right? That stuff is important too. Another one, so yeah, really question, but yeah, oh yeah. Hey Jordy, nice to see you around. By the way, hopefully you're doing well. By the way, too. Remember, I'm doing this as live stream, so it's like we get interrupted every so often. So apparently, I can't walk away here. Okay, sorry about that kind of interruption there. Remember, I'm live, so every so often I get interrupted. Just to go on here, let me welcome in Jordy here. Nice to see you. I know you dropped by on my previous live stream. It was nice to see you on yours too. I figure I'd return the favor, right? As they say, right? So one of the questions I got asked earlier was from someone was, and I kind of mentioned it every so often, but because they were talking about animation, they wanted to get into it, right? Because they wanted to animate something or produce something like that, or maybe as short as 30 seconds or whatever, right? I've been trying to get into that kind of stuff a little bit more again. Almost getting back to my roots, right? Like I was never in school the best artist. Far from it. Far from it, right? I was never that great. I mean, there was other people. Oh, I still remember them. These people out there. Uh, was they were so good at it. Like, wow, what was their name? David, Victor. These guys were so good at drawing that their pen drawings look like that awesome. That's how good they were, right? And when you can draw really good in pen, there's kind of some skill in there because obviously there's no erasing like in terms of like a pencil or whatever, right? And stuff like that. And they were attending like when I was attending in school, they were in art classes and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, there's more to art than just drawing or with pen, paper, or pencil and paper, right? Obviously, you can uh, not migrate, extend that to like a paintbrush, right? Painting, watercolors and stuff like that. I played around with watercolors before, let's say oil-based paints, pastels, and stuff like that. I know one of my followers here on the channel is actually doing some custom artwork, actually. So now if they drop in, then that'd be like one of those things. But you know, one of the things I did this one time when I was as a story here, my friends were I was visiting my friends, right, and his girlfriend and his mom were kind of painting with watercolors, right? You know what I did? I painted with grays using ash from the wood fire that they had in the back, and I kind of used it like that. I think I made a cube. Like, look at my cube, guys! I made it with ash and water and a paintbrush, but I was trying to kind of get a nice gradient on it, so it kind of looked more. It would pop and stuff like that. Kind of, because usually things in the background are usually tend to be darker. For example, like shadows and stuff like that, and things closer to you are a little bit lighter. Kind of to make it look more three dimensional. The cube. There was only three sides, right? The top, the front, and one of the sides, probably the right. Yeah, probably the right side of the cube, right? I think I added in a shadow later. I'm trying to, yeah, I'm trying to remember if I added in more into that. I don't have that image. It was just for fun, right? I was just kind of just doing that just for fun in terms of just just doing it, right? Sometimes the drawings or whatever just for fun. I mean, I remember when I did this one VR for someone. All right, they used to. Now they don't do it anymore. They used to bring in the stage prompt in terms of like, in terms of something they did, right. They don't do it anymore, right. I actually redrew that stage prompt by hand and added it in. I think I still actually have the image, right. Maybe one of these days I'll re-show it again here on the channel or something like that. And I'm like, because I added that in terms of a personalization type of thing, right? So when I did this, I think it was a sticker mail call or whatever. I'm like, I just brought it in almost like they do with a drawing of it versus the actual object itself, right? Because I don't actually have the actual object that they used, right? But I kind of recreated it, drew it, took the time, that half an hour or whatever to draw, and stuff like that. So the video was a little bit more. Oh, if you pay attention, you would notice that kind of deal. So, speak of stuff, right? Speak of stuff. Let me just see here what Tori wrote. Okay. Okay, Jordy. So good. This one time at drawing camp, don't derail me, Haven. Speak of Gray, I agree. 1107 and Pitney Pigeon Prep. I see you both in there. Yes, gray is a great color. I mean, that's kind of biased, but yeah. Gray is a shade or a tint, depending on how you look at it. No, your favorite is charcoal gray, and like I said, I because they're like they're like my friend's girlfriend and my friend's mom at that time because I was with them, right, when they were doing the watercoloring. Right? they're I'm just like I just showed them. I'm like, I made this cute, guys. They're like, oh, that's adorable, CR. I'm like, well, it's just for fun, like I said. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, that other drawing that I did for that VR. I I did draw it from by hand, right? I know sometimes my how do I say the word I'm looking for? Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? The proportions were slightly off on it. Right? Sometimes I have bad proportions in my drawings. So this is why I was never a great drawer because my proportions were slightly off. I mean, I've started to learn more about it in terms of like picturing it in my head, right? But I always, every time I picture it in my head, it always looks better in my head than on paper. But so I've done stuff like this in the past, right? I wouldn't say I was great at it or whatever, or uh, put, put, uh, a Da Vinci, Da Vinci, or some world famous painter or whatever, but it still looked kind of nice, right? And sometimes stuff like that, you just get better as you do it, right? I think like the people, like I said, in my past that I attended school with or whatever, that were really good at drawing, they were doodling in class all the time. They were doing it all the time. They weren't just in their art class drawing and being artistic. They were doing it outside at lunchtime, after school, right? They finished their assignment early, and next thing I know, they're doodling something or whatever it is, right? Maybe some animated character or a person doing a pose or whatever, right? I mean, I've seen some. Oh, I still remember that at times, right? I hope these people are still kicking around because and hopefully they made a career work based on that because they deserve that kind of stuff. I, on the other hand, was not that great. I was okay to good, but not great. Especially in comparison to them, right? I mean, some of those guys were so awesome, and actually some of the girls at that time too were pretty awesome in terms of drawing and just like I have some hand-eye coordination. I think it was always the proportions I was always off on. I'm like, hmm. Some people would be like, CR, that eye on the left side looks a tad bigger than on the right side, proportionally speaking. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Let me adjust this. Let me adjust this. You still can't color inside the lines. Speaking of coloring inside the lines, I had picked up randomly, for free, by the way, at some places every so often, these coloring books. Maybe I will bring them back on the channel. I've been thinking about this too. Well, I guess color does have CR in it. So if I put the word coloring as a title, well, it's got CR in it technically. It may be a colorful experience. Technically, I do have pencil crayons. technically, technically, I do. Maybe I should brush them off and just kind of take a look at them and just bring them back up. Because I've been thinking as a content creator, right? Maybe I can diversify the content a little bit here. I mean, technically, it's still being creative, I guess, right? Coloring is a form of creativity. A lot of people do it. Some people do it better. Some people really do it really, really good. And some people, including myself, are okay at it, right? And hopefully, I can color between the lines on them too. So I've been thinking about that. Mm, it's a good one onto light or dark, and it's got a bit of shimmer to it. This good stuff. Okay, yeah, it feels like it has dimension to it, right? I remember back in when I was still attending school and stuff like that. We had this big drawing contest, right? And basically, it was an outline image, right? And basically, whoever made the best version of it, because we all got the same image, right? I think it's some anime from some cartoon movie or anime movie out at that time, right? And basically, it was just a black and white outline of it, right? Kind of deal, like you would see in the coloring book, for example, right? And whoever made the best one or whoever they chose got something or whatever. I don't think they record because that was like, I townwide or something. Well, anyways, none of the people in the class got one, but I was seeing people doing so different kind of things, right? Kind of almost like thinking outside the box, right? I mean, I think everyone had to use pencil crayons. I think that was one of the criteria. Then what? Paints, acrylics, watercolors were not accepted, I believe. Don't quote me on that because I'm trying to remember how long ago. That was a really, really long time ago. Because it reminds me of that shimmering, right? Someone actually kind of, I think, used tissue or something like that and kind of buffered their pencil crayon markings in there, kind of make it look like it was shiny. I think they did that as part of the sky or something like that, or the eyes or something like that, right? So every so often I remember that. And then as I learned some more things, seeing people doing it, and attended a class, an art class about that, it was illustrated. It was actually demonstrated and stuff like that, like with pastel colors and stuff like that. But that was something I remember back when I was much much younger, even before all of that, right? Before I met these people, before I attended classes like that, or you know, you know what I mean. So something I keep in mind. Hmm, yeah, because I think if I remember right, remember how I said about the cube thing, right? How I used charcoal or wood ash in terms of making the watercolor. I think I actually did use some charcoal or wood ash to kind of do a similar thing. So I mixed it in. So I did it wet, honestly, like watercolor. Then I added it on top of that as kind of like almost like pastel. No, not pastels, but like kind of like almost like chalk, right? Stuff like that. And, speak of chalk, that's sidewalk art type of chalk work. you know, I've seen sometimes some of that stuff is really interesting, right? I'm like, wow, if this was made not from an adult but from someone younger, wow, they got some skill, right? It looks really good for what it is, right? It's not just like a stick image or whatever, a stick person. It actually has like, a degree of depth to it. It's just like, wow, hopefully they get a creator or find work dealing with that, pursuing that passion. Yes, yes. Go check out that video. By the way, you might get hooked on it. Right? Poor Haven, right? You might get hooked on it. No spoilers, right? I try not to spoil things, but I try to hint on it a little bit, though. Let me. What is my time here? Okay, I gotta keep tabs on my time here. 'Cause I have to make an appearance on a stream myself here. I can't stream the whole time away. So I'll probably go till the bottom of the hour, probably till the bottom of the hour. I gotta let my headset charge too before that stream starts. I'll probably go to the 2 hour mark, bottom of the hour, wherever you guys and gals are right now. So I hope like I know like kind of you know went on different tangents every so often, but well, I'm hoping you guys, the content creators out there, you know, found this enjoyable, well, if not enjoyable, educational to a certain degree, right? And hopefully you enjoyed some of these little backstories that I have, right? Because some of these I don't bring up usually on the channel because I'm talking about water. I don't need to bring bring up coloring right now, right? So, but since I'm talking about that kind of more artistic side, content creation, video, animation, drawing, and all that stuff, right? I gotta bring this in and bring some previous examples what I've may have shown on videos and stuff like that, and hopefully maybe I'll get back my roots into that again because you know, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy the digital creation mode. I've shown that there's videos or live streams of me doing that, right? And I also gonna realize, you know, dip back into my roots, so to speak. Maybe old school pen and paper kind of deal, right? It's just like, you know, it's almost like learning how to like handwrite or cursive writing again from like typing for the last like 10 years. So maybe get back into that and maybe make some content from that too, right? I don't know exactly how it will turn out, but you know, I mean, I guess I do have a couple of coloring books. Hopefully, I won't get a copyright strike for showing certain things as a coloring book, but I think I would be able to and stuff like that. 'Cause technically, those are coloring books, outlines, and stuff like that. It's what I use as color or how I draw it. That probably matters. Because there's a few out there that I picked up. It's been, yeah, I think they're sitting in our room. So I perhaps will bring them in one of these days. Actually, this actually reminds me there is actually one thing I'm supposed to be actually doing, which I've been procrastinating it a little, which I'm sorry to the person who drew the picture for me, right? Because I originally had something, but I kind of lost that data when I lost access to that laptop. So yeah, but because they drew me a black and white pencil drawing of something, and I kind of said that I would eventually digitally color that in. I mean, I still have the image, but maybe this will persuade me more to doing it now because I'm actually saying it here on YouTube. It's live. It's out there. I can't take it back now because I'm already saying it, and I'm clearly not on a list to privatize this video, this stream. Hey, I appreciate that, Penny. Yeah. Oh, that's very nice of you, Penny. Yeah. To the point that I'll actually put them on the screen. Yeah. I mean, basically now I'm just kind of rambling a little here and just kind of can, refreshing. No, not refreshing. What's the word I'm looking for? Recapping. Sorry. The C and the R are backwards in that. That's why I forgot about that. Recapping what I said. It's kind of, yeah. Perhaps I will. Perhaps I will. There is something that I've been considering too. So if I actually draw it out, it might actually be beneficial. I mean, don't get me wrong. I just every so often I will sketch something out. I just say like a thumbnail. I mean, I barely even touched on the thumbnail part of this, right? Sometimes I'll actually sketch something out on, let's say, with pen, paper, pencil, paper, right, and just kind of get my thoughts out on a piece of paper, right? Be like, oh, I want the CR right there. I want this right here. I want this image right here. This is the focus. Everywhere else will have white space or whatever. Right? This is the focus. And I'll drop down. Okay, I want these certain colors because they represent this. They represent the video, for example. There's a lot of water in this video, so I think I'll use a lot of blues, baby blues and stuff like that. Maybe some light blues and with darker blues in the background, so there's more contrast. So that part of the CR or whatever stands out a little bit more and stuff like that. I mean, I've done stuff like that. Although sometimes I could just picture it in my head, or I'm kind of just thinking out loud on it, where I'm like, okay, I gotta make a thumbnail for this video. Okay, so how am I gonna approach it? I mean, I've done those like those things. I guess you know what? I guess I could. Where's my phone? The phone's. I didn't realize my phone wasn't charging for a long period of time. It went down from like 70 to like 20, and barely up 40. But those poses that they do. Those those expressions, right? That people do. I've done a few of those, right, and stuff like that. Those are kind of fun, but sometimes I can't always do that for certain videos or for certain thumbnails, just because it's not quite the feel that I want for it. I mean, I know a lot of people do that kind of stuff. But, I mean, I guess my last video, I guess I have a selfie. It basically was me holding a shovel. I put some text over top. Right? Basically, it took me way less time than some other thumbnails and some other videos I've done. And I was just like, okay, I think I'll just keep that. It's simplistic enough. It kind of represents what I want to say, right? Getting dirt time because now there's a shovel with a little bit of dirt on it. You see me outside with a shovel. Here's some text. I think I used. Geez, I think I used green to represent spring in terms of for the text color and stuff like that. So kind of brought it together where it made sense and hopefully it was visually entertaining enough or capture that moment. Because I actually shot that I used this I took a little selfie image at that same time that I was shooting the video, so stuff like that. Because I'm actually wearing I was wearing the same jacket and all that stuff. I'm like, okay. And so I was just like, how was I gonna represent that, right? I'm like, well, the trees aren't blossoming yet. There's no green on the trees yet, so I can't do that. And I'm like, well, since I said, springtime prep work, I'm like, okay, shovel. Because I actually wasn't, I wasn't using a shovel per se, but I just had it out anyways. I'm like, okay, people, you think of shovel, you might think of spring, the green spring, prep work, work, shovel, and stuff like that, and it's kind of came together. Take care, Penny Mitching. Yeah, I'll be closing out the show a little bit here. Perhaps I will retouch on this subject once again in a month or a couple months from now. I'll post some more content for a little bit again and get back into like doing this air stuff again. You know, I think this is why one of the reasons why I actually haven't shown per se gear on the channel for a kid for a while. Because those videos tend to rate themselves in terms of scripting, but some of those other stuff I'm like, oh, that's a little bit more challenging in terms of scripting it or whatever, but it's more creative, right? Because I actually have to put something together and that just shows something, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still fun to make or whatever, but I feel like I take more pride in actually creating the content from scratch and the items that I present from scratch or as much as possible, right? And stuff like that. All right. Well, yeah. Shalom. Hey, Baba. How are you doing? I'm about to end the show in the next couple minutes here. It's nice to see you, by the way. Hopefully everything's going well. You and your family out there, right? Hopefully you're still hauling it in, so to speak. Yes, yes, yes. I try to say these little certain words every so often to kind of indicate that I am paying attention to people and what they say and what they're saying or showing, DIY, showing it in their videos as a content creator, right? Because as a content creator, it's always kind of, I guess, in my opinion, because I'm in my point of view, anyways. I always like when people kind of refer to something in my videos because it kind of makes it like, oh, hey, they're paying attention. Oh, XYZ channel paid attention to what I said or showed, and they can bring it back up like weeks, months, years later. It's like, oh, because it feels like hey, people are listening, and it's nice if someone's listening or watching your content, is you feel like you're getting your message across, right? And if anything, my message for this stream is go create out there, right? Go create something awesome out there, whatever it is, right? DIY, drawing, garden layout, maybe those haul videos, right? Those preparedness haul videos and stuff like that, those gardening type of videos and stuff like that. Those are all in my opinion, forms of creating, right? Maybe it's woodcrafting, maybe it's DIY, maybe it's putting something together, maybe it's like, hey, I reused all these items and made this from a bunch of stuff, CR. I'm like, ooh. I mean, I just recently saw a video of like someone putting together making a shelf from something else. I was just like, I was so glued into it. I'm like, and I indicated certain little words to kind of indicate that I saw those little parts, paying attention to the words and what was said and stuff like that. Yep, straight up. Straight up, right, Bubba? Yep. All right, everyone. Well, I guess I might as well just go right to the 2 hour mark because it's already there, almost there anyway. So about less than 2 minutes, about a minute left on the stream. I appreciate all my viewers, the watchers, the people that did drop in during the live part of this stream. Shout out to the replay gang and stuff like that. You know, and then as a content creator, I'm also trying to create content too. So sometimes I fall behind on actually watching the content creation, the content creators out there too. I try to follow along as much as possible, but I also realize there's not enough time in the day, and I also have to do stuff too. And also attend maybe panels and live streams and do my own streams, do my own videos, and maybe things like chores and stuff like that technically I have to do regardless, right? But I do try to find time to watch the content. If it really piques my interest, I might even watch it right away. But a lot of the time, it'll be watch later until I find time for it. Cooking videos and stuff like that. I'll be like, well, I'll watch it when I'm eating because I know I'll get hungry if I watch these food haul videos and stuff like that. A lot of the time, I'm watching those while I'm eating anyway. That way, I don't get hungry and stuff like that. So I guess I'll. So remember, everyone, you all can create a better future starting today. And like always, with our world changing, we will adapt to our skill and knowledge get better with practice. Can't help everyone, but one can help someone. All right, everyone, take care. Go create something awesome out there, because we all can be something more. And I'll catch you all next time. Take care, folks. And I see you, Ginger Ninja, and the rest of you. Take care, everyone. Bye.